Welcome to the shop, fellow maker. You've got Bill today and
Britt.
And today we're going over a project from our new book, Foamsmith 3, of which we have many copies for sale over at punishprops.com if you want to head over and grab yourself a copy.
And not only do these books teach you how to make your own foam helmet, mask, or crown, it has some example projects, and that's what we're going to be building today, the Dwarven helmet.
We should go get some foam and start cutting it out. Got many foams to pick from and I need a variety of thicknesses. Today I'm gonna go with the lighter stuff. This is Steve's HD foam in I think 10, 6, and 2 millimeter thicknesses. We've got 10 millimeter thick foam here for all the base helmet parts, and then a pattern that I printed out on my normal home printer and cut out with a sharp knife. So this is one of the free patterns that comes with the book, and we've included a link to this pattern if you would like to go download it and try it for yourself. This is the right side, so we're gonna need to do 2 of each. We'll do trace 1 and then flip it over for the left side.
Gotcha. It's really fun getting to work on a foam helmet. It's been a while.
It's fun working on a foam project with you.
Aw. And tracing on stuff's pretty therapeutic. I just have to make sure I do both the left and right sides and not 2 rights because I've done that before.
That has happened. It happens to the best of us. Time to cut these out. I'm gonna cut out some pieces on the bandsaw, so I'm just rough cutting them from the main sheet here so that I can use this small piece to go through the machine instead of this whole sheet.
While Bill cuts his pieces out on the bandsaw, I'm going to cut mine by hand.
I swear I sharpened that knife.
I just didn't press down hard enough. You really want to think about cutting into the mat all the way through. It makes it a lot easier.
With our parts cut out, the next thing is this detail. This dotted line represents the sort of trench that's buried in the side of our helmet here. So we're gonna cut that out before we glue everything together. I'm just removing this part of the pattern. It has already done its job. We don't need that anymore. We can go back to this piece and then trace that line on. And just like before, we can flip this over to do the other side. But I'll cut this part out right now. I want to cut into my foam, but only about halfway down. It's not a big deal if it goes a little too deep. You just don't want to cut all the way through. You do want to make sure you have a very sharp knife. And I can tell this knife could use a little sharpening. Oh, so much nicer. And then the hard part, I'm gonna cut down the side, but all the way to the cut I made before. This might be easier with a longer knife. There we go.
Look at that.
Nice lowered spot there. We'll just do that on the rest of the parts. So up next, we want our flat pieces to be a little more rounded, a little more dome shaped. So we're gonna heat form them, and we've got a tag team going on. I'm gonna do some heating with the heat gun, and Britt's gonna do some forming on the foam anvil.
Thank you.
So these top parts here, this is the top of the dome, these got curved in every direction, but the side panels, these ones here, just got curved in one direction. They just go around that way. It is time to glue all our parts together. I'm gonna do this in multiple steps. I think we'll put like the dome pieces together, and then we'll connect those to the top. And then we'll put all of the side pieces together and connect those to the dome. And then we'll take the two halves and we'll glue those together.
I got it.
Just like that. We're gonna use contact cement. It is super toxic, so we are gonna put on our respirators. Whoop-oo.
Whoop-oo. Nice.
There we go.
You did a great job
Oh, thank you.
matching up that. Looks so symmetrical. Love it.
Yeah, this is the back collar part that goes back here, and I'm gonna wait to attach that until we do a little more detailing on it. But also at this step, we can do a little heat forming, get it into basically the shape we want, and it's really helpful to have a head. Ta-da! So this is a foam head that I put together. We have a pattern for this that's super cheap, and it's in our store if you want to go grab that. We can put our helmet right on there.
That's so handy.
This is gonna be really helpful for all the future steps where we're working on the helmet instead of hand holding it the whole time. We did a good job of getting a good helmet form, but I'm just heating it up and bending in, and especially these cheek panels, they kind of want to float out. I want them in a little bit tighter. So we just heat it up a little bit and then hand form it the way we want it. These cheeks want to keep flaring out, and I want them in a lot more, and the heat forming just isn't doing it, so I've got a trick. I've put some glue on the inside here, put some glue on these strips of foam here. I'm gonna bend the cheek in the way I kind of want it, and then I will apply this strip. Actually, Benny and Svetlana over at Kamui Cosplay had a video on this technique. It was really good. And that should, yeah, see, it's pulling that in now, and that's a lot more like what I want. There we go. Now that the helmet form is good to go and it fits, we can start adding details. I think the first thing we want are the horns.
Horns.
I hope you like my horn, and let me know which horns you like to make. Buy my horn and do your horn. Horn.
Buy my horn.
We're gonna make those by layering some foam together to get a thicker piece that we can use to make the horns. I'm gonna add some detail. I'm using these lines I drew on my pattern here as a guide. These are gonna get cut into the surface. Just taking my time to make sure that they nice and straight and parallel. I'm changing up the pattern a little bit. This design, the one I did in the book, was one way, and I've kind of made a custom one for this helmet, changing it up, and I encourage you to do the same. Customize and personalize your Dwarven helmet. There's our pattern lines drawn on, and I'm going to go in with a nice sharp knife and just score those. So I'm not going terribly deep here. We're going to hit this with a heat gun to open the lines up, and it'll look awesome. Now we apply heat. Time for the next layer of detail, and you can see this was the original design, and this is the new one that I came up with. The next part is going to be made out of these 2mm thick pieces that are going to go on like that. And I have just enough over here to wrap around a little bit. I'm going to need a few more though. I need, Britt, you think you could help me cut those out? All right. For gluing little things like this, I like using super glue. I have a lot more control about where the glue goes. That's not to say I won't get it all over my fingers still, but it's a little bit more easier to guide than a big meaty brush with contact cement on it. That'll go like that. And then I want that to wrap over, but I'm going to put a little bit of super glue accelerant right there. And then I'll do that, and I'll hold it for like 3 seconds. There we go. Other side. That's what we want, and I'll just continue that down the line. My fingers are more super glue than flesh at this point, but it's working. There we go. That looks really cool. I'm so happy with that. Horns are ready to go, and they're gonna slot right in there, at least the side ones anyway. Before I glue that in place though, I wanna round these edges just so they're a little cleaner, and it'll be a lot easier to get at them before this goes in place. Let's get our rotary tool. Spin it!
Spin it!
Doop, 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 doop. Okay, those are nice and clean. I'm gonna put this where it's gonna go, centered on this line right here. Then I'm gonna trace it so that I know where to put all my contact cement. There we go. Glue goes there. Okay, gonna take my time with this. Getting the that little protrusion down in the crevice is gonna be our main concern here. Let's make sure it squeezes in. That looks pretty good. Oh yeah, that looks great. The front horn is gonna go right there, but to match this, I'm gonna cut a little triangle out of here on the back. Just about like that. This doesn't have to be super precise either because the foam is so forgiving. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. See how it works. Oh, so nice. Now I can trace this one and do the same thing. Okay, only get one shot at this.
Don't mess up.
Ah. Well, it's on the lines, so that's good, and it looks straight, so that's good.
That looks awesome.
Yeah.
That looks really good.
That's pretty great. I'm gonna do these decorations on the edge next, And these aren't in the pattern, it's just a long strip. So for the back part here, I'm gonna cut a strip out of my thinner foam. I think the original was 4mm, this is 6, I think, so it's a little thicker, but it should still work. So that'll get wrapped around like that as some decoration. But first, I'm going to score some lines to make my decoration. This could be a little sharper, but I'm gonna score them, let's do 1/2 inch apart. Just do a whole bunch of those. Before I get to gluing, I want to round over this edge. This is the edge that this is gonna wrap around, and I want it to be a little more rounded. And the edge of this that's gonna show, that's gonna get rounded just like that. Now we stick. This is one of the coolest things about foam because it's so flexible. We can just put it wherever we need it and it will conform to our needs. Actually, I can cut this now. No need to measure. All right, now we do a little wrapping.
Wiki, wiki, wiki.
Wiki, wiki. That's how Evan and Caitlin wrap too. I may have made it a little wider than it needed to be. That's okay. That piece is just about ready to go, but before I glue it in, I want to add the same kind of edge treatment to the rim here, all the way around until we get to the front where the faceplate's gonna go. This will go right there. I'm doing this in 2 pieces, and they're gonna meet in the middle here. So I'm gonna come out right about there. I'm gonna trim it. There we go. And wrap it around. And I made this shorter. It doesn't have to go all the way around to the back there. Oh look, that's handy. This helmet comes with its own stand. I'm gonna just trim whatever's hanging over there. Now I can attach this back part. There we go. So up next is this faceplate part here, and I've already cut out sort of the base shape from some the 6mm foam. And then the decorations on here, these details, those are gonna be made out of 2mm foam. I'm gonna cut those out ahead of time in a long strip, and then I'll cut them into smaller segments. I'm gonna score this, and you hit it with a heat gun, although I did a test here, and you can see that it curled a lot. So I'm gonna score it now, then glue it down, then hit it with a heat gun. I think that's the right order of operations. That's the line where I'm going to score it. And the next one. And now we'll cut it out. There we go. Now I can cut this into smaller pieces. This one's going to be about like that. About like that. And it should go like that. Just gonna super glue this piece down. Am I? It's clogged. Yeah, there. Ooh, that's so nice. This face part is another piece that I...
It's collect again.
This face plate is another part that can be totally customized. This design I'm doing here is different than the original. And to make sure these parts are equidistant and parallel, I have a little skewer that I'm using as a spacer. There we go. Okay, this is a big moment here. Sticking it down, I put contact cement everywhere. Not yet, not yet. Everyone just calm down. Ensure everything's lined up. Oh yeah. See, this is where everything starts coming together. So many layers. It's a good bake. Front of the helmet's looking very nice, although there are a couple of tweaks I want to make. On the back here, there's a little bit of a gap. You can see I've filled this one in, and I've got another little piece of foam I'm going to glue in on this side. Very nice. Also on the front here, this is pretty thick, and to make it appear a little bit more thin, I'm going to cut a bevel. I did one on this side. You can see it looks a little bit thinner. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'll probably come in with my rotary tool and clean that up a little bit, but that helps thin it out a bit. I like that. Up next are these sort of detail panels that are going to go here. There's one for each side, and I have one for the back. These provide some extra detail, but they also cover the seams. So on the back here, this one helps to cover the seams a bit, like that, and we'll put some more stuff up here for those ones. We're going to cut these out of a couple of different layers of foam. So I'll do a full piece out of 2mm foam, then I'll cut this template apart and do these little pieces separately. And then we can glue them all together. We made a hat, Britt.
I love it.
It's really cool. I'm in love with the new design. Looks really nice contrasted with this fella, and it's time to paint it. But first,
Gotta do some plastidip.
yes, I'm thinking 3 heavy coats of plastidip, and I'm gonna let this whole thing dry overnight.
We put it in some hot water. It helps it spray a little better, a little more even misting goes on a little bit better. So there's that.
All right, perfect. Let's get to spraying. It has been overnight, And the plastidip is all dry. I put on 3 heavy layers. It looks really fantastic. And we're excited today because we get to paint this thing. For a little bit of guidance on the helmet, we have some references that we're going to work from for the paint.
Pay no attention to the bandage. That was an accident that happened in the kitchen. This is one of our Hobbit art books, and in it has a lot of really cool armor pieces, and this is all the Dwarven section. So we were looking in this book for ideas for the color scheme, and Bill really likes this one, and I do too. It's got kind of a metallic blue to it. We have some Angelus leather paints. This is the blue, but we also put some silver in there. And then I think for the highlights, we want to do bronze. But before we do these 2 colors, I think we're going to cover the whole thing in pewter. Is that right, Bill?
That's right.
Awesome. So we're going to do a whole layer of the silver pewter and then get to these guys.
Now, I mentioned before that we have a new book out. That's what this helmet example is from. It's Foamsmith 3. We're both very proud of it, both Brittany and I. I did all the writing and photos. She did all the layout and editing. Also, Paige helped. She did all the illustrations. It's easily our best book to date. It's got some 800 photos in it. The first half of it is all techniques and instruction, and the second half is 3 example builds. One of them, of course, being this helmet here, but we have a crown in there. We also have a really cool sculpted, more organic mask-looking tutorial in there that I think is pretty cool. Like I said, we're super proud of it. It's easily our best book to date. We have the whole trilogy available now over on our website at punishprops.com in both print and digital. You can pick one up for yourself or for a friend and start making some really cool foam stuff today. The trilogy!
Woo!
As Svetlana would say, please, buy my books. The thinned, we just thinned it with water. The thinned layer of pewter color is all dry now, and I'm gonna start with the blue, and all the low spots are gonna get blue. I'm using just a tiny bit of paint. I'm even wiping some of it off. And then I'm just sort of scrubbing the surface to lay down a little bit of paint at a time, just hitting the high spots so that there's some of that texture still showing through. I can do more layers if I want more coverage later, but I'm just sort of laying down a more subtle blue, and I don't have to get it down in the crevices. In fact, a little bit of like implied shadow there might look good.
I like the texture on that.
Yeah, the texture is really fantastic, and that's from the plastidip, and I'm totally down with that. I let the blue dry a bit. We went and had lunch. It was delicious. What do we have, Britt?
Sandwiches.
Sandwiches. They were great. Now I'm going over with a little bit heavier of a hand and kind of highlighting, especially edges like this with a little more of that blue. And kind of the center area here. The edges I want to keep a little bit less covered. Again, to kind of have more of that implied shadow thing going on. Looking good. I really like that blue. Now it's time for some bronze.
I am just about done with my second coat of the bronze. That looks really good. Look at that. I think we're just about ready for some weathering.
Good, I like weathering. I'm going in with some of my favorite oil paints here to do a little bit of weathering, especially on these metal parts that are all one color. Just a little bit of dirtying up actually helps it look more metallic. Brush a little on there, I can smear it a bit with my finger. That just gives it a little more depth, which I really like. Here's a little bit of the before I did all the weathering, and here's what it looks like after. So adding just a little bit of grime in all the crevices and everything, and giving ourselves a little more contrast. Before, after. there it is, all finished next to the original. This was so much fun to put together, so much fun to put together with you.
It was a really fun project, and I really like the blue color scheme. That's really neat.
Blue is my favorite color.
So in the description down below, we'll have patterns for you to download, free patterns if you'd like to try and make your own helmet. I encourage you to do some different decorations and color schemes because once you get the base down, you can do just about anything you want. And also, if you would like to learn more about helmets, we have our Foamsmith 3 book, which goes over helmets, masks, and crowns, and it has some other templates in there to help you on your journey, as well as information on how to design your own helmet or help you make whatever kind of helmet you want from like your favorite television show or anime or movie or whatever.
Yeah, go nuts. Pick your favorite thing and go try and make it. Thank you everyone who's purchased the book so far. You guys are awesome. And a special thank you goes out to the members of our Extra Credit Club who have joined us over on Patreon and right here on YouTube by hitting the join button for memberships. It's because of you guys that we can keep the lights on around here, especially over the last few months. We'll be recording a build discussion, the two of us talking about these two helmets for our Extra Credit members, exclusively for them. So look forward to that. But we also do weekly vlogs and other weekly behind the scenes projects from here in the shop. We have a bunch of projects we've started and been working on that are going to come out in the next couple weeks and months that I'm very excited to share with you. So make sure you subscribe. That'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Be good to one another, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you in the next build. Are we April Wilkerson now?